this, but I found that in the automatic record, I tend to do other bad things like grunt a lot before the camera's turned on. And then every video students watch starts out with the horrific sounds of me sitting into the chair going, bloody chair, and God, I need to lose weight, that kind of stuff that tends to put students off. They go, Jesus, they don't want to see that. Okay, so getting back to this here, the other criticism that the lecturers have is that you sometimes speak with too much certainty about things of which there isn't enough certainty. Okay, and this hedging can be used like that. Okay, so can often help. Here it is doesn't really help. Okay, and then here the government really needs to help. Now in this case, we're actually emphasizing by saying really needs to help. We're really pushing the point. Okay, I'll underline that one just to show that that one's slightly different. And I'll say Coke can occasionally. So if I don't want to over push myself on that, I'll say Coke can occasionally. So I'm not promising that it'll do it every time. In fact, I'm not being very strong. Coke might not, if somebody who had pushed this idea of Coke can help remove rust from metal. What is rust? What color is rust?
Ferric oxide, I would say.
Yeah, so the color is?
Brown.
Brown, there we go. So rust is brown. What does it mean if you say I'm rusty? I'm a bit rusty. I'm a bit rusty. You say that about yourself as a person. Anybody? I'm a bit rusty.
I guess, is it tired?
It's not tired. It's not tired, but you're not a million miles. No, well, it's not tired. No, I'm going to say you're not a million miles away, but that might encourage you to think it might be something connected to energy. But I think tired is an intelligent answer, but it's not the right answer. That's the only problem. I'm a little rusty. Oh, well, this is a brilliant phrase for you to know. I'm out of practice. So if somebody says, Anita, can you play the piano? Well, I learned it when I was a teenager. And you go, okay, so play us a song. And you go, okay, well, all right, but
I'm a little rusty.
I'm a little rusty. Okay. So it might be something in the laboratory that you've done many times, but you haven't done it in a while. And now you have to think through the process or the steps. So you can say, I'm a little rusty. If you say I'm a little rusty and you want to build a sentence, well, then you'll need verb ing. I think you need an about link as well. Verb ing, and then your object and complement. So your object, complement, and your verb ing. Okay, so and then your about link. Okay, so I'm a little rusty. So you could say, I'm a little rusty when it comes to doing pipette experiments. I don't know what I'm talking about. It's like hearing a child talking about something. Pipette experiments in the lab. Okay. I'm just making that up completely. Science people are going, what the hell is he talking about? Okay, I'm a little rusty as regards using this equipment. So that means I know how to do it, but I'm out of practice. And then you might say, to be honest, or something like that there. Okay, so I'm a little rusty as regards using. I'm a little rusty when it comes to. I'm a little rusty in terms of what do you call that in your thesis? We're referencing, yeah. Of referencing quotes and attributes, we'll say. Okay, I'm a little rusty. One more. Give me another member of the about family. You give me one now. When it comes to, as regards, in terms of, don't use a verb ing because we have a verb ing. So don't use concerning or regarding. Don't use those two.
With regards to?
Okay, lovely. So, and do you want to finish this, Manita?
Ooh.
Ah, you were laughing at my laboratory work. So let's hear yours.
I'm a little rusty with regard to speaking in Spanish
Lovely.
or something like that.
Yeah, and you could say speaking Spanish. That's fine. And you can say nowadays or these days or nothing. And it doesn't hurt to show sometimes the complement can be empty, okay? Sometimes there's no object. When I say object, really, I mean object or adjective. That's what always goes in that box, or possibly even an adverb, okay? So that's rusty. And we had it over here when we were talking about rust. But people often use it in real life, not about metal, as you say, the oxide and metal, but about your lack of practice. So that was the first thing I wanted to mention today in the last lesson before Christmas about hedging, that the modal verb or phrasal verb and adverb and help combinations can be used with another verb here. Now I'm going to bring this over here, copy it, and we're going to go a step further now. Okay, so let me remind you what we've done here. Let's zoom out from this and let's just get a bird's eye view of what we've been doing. So we're looking at group study can often help. Warm-ups frequently tend to help. A police presence could sometimes help. In that section there, what's the devil in the detail? Sorry, let me just go back to annotate, spotlight, that one, and go back here and do this. Okay, so what's the takeaway point about the difference between phrasal verbs, tend to, need to, and modal verbs, can, could, may?
The hedging?
No,
What's
look carefully. So these ones, the green ones, can, could, may, and the auxiliary verb doesn't. And look at the orange ones, often, frequently, sometimes, frequently in certain cases. And then look at these modal, these phrasal verbs, tend to, need to. Do you notice anything about the difference between could sometimes and frequently tend to? Like can frequently, but sometimes need to. Something about the structure. Let me go to our list and see who's awake. Hamid, are you there? Can you hear me? Calling Hamid. 3, 2, 1. Okay, Hamid's put up a note. Mina, how about you? Are you there? Can you hear me, Mina? Okay, Hamid, I got your message. That's great. That's no problem. Mina, are you there? Meenakshi? No? Okay. Andrea, are you there? This isn't good for a teacher's ego, you know. It's like,
yeah, I'm here.
okay,
I'm
right.
here.
Andrea, how are you? Okay. Andrea, do you notice anything about the difference between the tend to and need to as phrasal verbs, and then can, could, can, may, doesn't as modal or auxiliary verbs? Something about their construction. Now, it's very obvious.
I would say modal verbs go in the first place, and then they are followed by adverbs, often, frequently.
Exactly. So watch that. And sometimes students are unaware of it, and then they might say warm-ups tend to frequently, or the public need to sometimes. Okay. Now native speakers do this as well, and it's not best practice. Okay. So for yourself, for best practice, knowing that your English is exact, that's the rule, that modal verbs go before the adverb and phrasal verbs like need to tend to go after the adverb. Now, okay, just want to add one thing there about modal verbs. Okay, that's all I have to say about that. And so now, so turn off this and this. Okay, so let's come out of that. Now, the next thing we're going to look at is how we'd use these if we were using, sorry, is the participant list in front of your screen? Can you see the participant list that I'm moving around my screen? No? You can't see me moving a box around the screen, no?
No.
That's fine. Sometimes I'm not sure which aspects of that can come up on your screen, but it'll come up on the recording, the video recording. So I want to get it out of the way. So in this one now, what have we done here? Well, look, we've used two high value verbs together. Look at that. Whoops, daisy, what have I done? We've used two high value verbs together, right beside each other on top of this. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to push you towards doing this, but sometimes it can be necessary. And when it's necessary, I'd like you to be able to do it. Okay. So I'm going to steal those guys that we had a moment ago, because you know what? I did this table and for some reason I never put in any adverbs, and I just wanted to put that in today. So we'll put them in here as well. Will that work? Okay, there we go. We're working. Lovely. And we can bring that down a little bit. Lovely. May in certain cases. Now, we'll check the logic of these first. So group study can often help students achieve higher scores. Good. All right. Now we're covered. We're not over-promising anything. Warm-ups frequently tend to help footballers avoid injuring key muscles. Love it. After avoid, which verb form?
ING.
ING. Okay. A quiet space could sometimes help students focus on improving study skills. Good. That sentence makes sense. Sometimes once you rearrange the sentence a little, or if students suggest another verb and I just leave it like that, a couple of weeks later I can come back and say that sentence makes zero sense. So we'll just double check these sentences as we're going through them. The public sometimes need to help the police eliminate engaging in antisocial behavior. Now that isn't going to make sense. Okay, so we have to change this one. Okay. Now, help. Okay, the police eliminate. I'm going to have to take this out. Okay. So the public sometimes need to help the police eliminate antisocial behavior. Now that's okay. Scientific research could indeed help begin reducing cancer levels. Yeah. And for example, the scientific community. All scientists all over the world are part of the scientific community. Okay. So that's how we'd use that. Let me just bump out a bit for a sec, then go up here. Da-da-dum. I just want to tidy this up a bit. They drive me bananas when the table is out of sync. Okay. All right, so the scientific community, there we go. So scientific research could indeed help the scientific community begin reducing cancer levels significantly. Right, let's go back in and zoom back. Doing exercise can frequently help begin developing concentration when studying. Okay, can help. I don't like that. I don't like the use of begin there, so I'm going to eliminate it. Sometimes I put in these and I'm pushing it too much, you know, so I'll take that out. No, begin here will be fine. Actually, I'll leave that one alone. That one's okay. Alrighty. Begin reducing cancer levels. Doing exercise can frequently help. Now I'm going to move develop. Avoid. Okay, developing concentration issues. Okay, that'll work. Can help avoid developing concentration issues. So concentration issues can develop. I mean, they go from 0 up to 100, and you don't even want to start going from 0 to 1. So that's what you're trying to avoid. Not just the concentration issues themselves, but whatever thing or cause begins these issues. Okay. When studying. So doing exercise can frequently help avoid developing concentration issues when studying. AI technology may, in certain cases, help. Now, we're not talking about farmers. Help, and I'm going to take out this because this means everybody. When object 1 is empty, it means everybody in every situation, everywhere. Okay, it's only when we put in something here we mean a specific group. So here, for example, the public sometimes need to help eliminate antisocial behavior. That means the public need to eliminate it. But when this is empty, you see this? If this is empty, it means we need to help everybody everywhere all the time eliminate antisocial behavior. So if teachers are trying to help it, we help them. If social groups are trying to help it, we help them. But if we want to specify a specific group, like the police, then we'd put that in here in object 1. Okay. Now, AI technology may in certain cases help finish counting votes in certain cities. Okay. And there, look, you have this modal verb may, the verb help, the verb finish, and the verb ing. Now, common mistake by students is they say finish to count, finish to eat. I finished to write my thesis. Finish must be followed by verb ing. Okay. For some of you, I can read some of your minds right now. Some of you are thinking, hang on a second. I seem to remember certain verbs that can use both. And we'll talk about that shortly. Okay. There are certain verbs like avoid must be followed by verb ing. Okay. But stop can be followed by verb to infinitive or verb ing, and the meaning changes. So what's the difference between I stopped to smoke and I stopped smoking?
I never knew these things.
Okay, all right, okay. Right, so I'll talk about here. So what's the difference between stop to smoke and stop smoking? Now, once you see it, you'll kind of go, oh, yeah, that's obvious to me. Stop to smoke and stop smoking. Anybody? Okay. This means take a break and have a cigarette.
Ah,
Mm,
okay.
exactly. And this one means quit smoking as a habit. Like give up cigarettes. Okay. And sometimes students don't always realize that. And they say, I stopped to smoke. And you say, okay, well, hurry up. We need to get back to work. And they're expecting a congratulations, well done. And they instead saying, yeah, well, don't take too long. What? Well, that's because you broke a very obvious rule for us. Okay. Now there are not many verbs in this category. For example, what's the difference between remember plus to infinitive? And remember verb ing. Anyone want to jump in on that one? You don't have to be right, of course. You know, very often you could be wrong, but okay. Anyone? Don't be afraid if you're wrong. It's absolutely fine to be wrong. We'll just all laugh at you and point our fingers. Okay, so remember to means don't forget. Don't forget.
For example, if I say remember to bring your keys with you,
Exactly.
like don't forget your keys at home, something like that.
Exactly. And we often use it as did you remember to like you say, bring your keys? Okay, or did you remember to lock the door?
Hmm.
That can be a typical example of it. Now, we often use that in question forms. It doesn't have to be. It could be a command by saying, "Remember to lock the door." Okay, it's like don't forget to. When you say, "Did you remember to bring your keys?" it sounds more diplomatic than "Did you forget to bring your keys?" Okay, which suggests you're forgetful, which some people don't like. Okay, so let me just check if there's a chat here and there could be a question. My microphone, but okay, stop. Okay, so did you remember to bring your keys? Did you remember to lock the door? That's reminding somebody of about something. Okay, that's what that is doing, that one there. Okay, now remember plus verb ing. Anyone want to give me a suggestion on this one? This is recall. Okay, so or I often call it viewing the memory CCTV. Okay, you know, CCTV but in your head. So for example, where did you lose your keys? And someone will say, let me see. Well, I remember locking the front door. And then I remember getting into the car. Okay, so you'd see that kind of conversation. So this guy uses the verb ing form. I remember locking the door and I remember getting into the car. Okay, there you'll see how to use that. And that's this kind of recall. So it's often used in those situations when you're recalling lost keys, for example. Well, I remember locking the front door and I remember going to the car, and you'd use it like that. Okay. And this one up here is often used in a question, or as Anita did it there, she used it as just like a command. When you start the sentence with an infinitive verb, it's a command. Remember to lock the door. Okay. So it's not a question anymore. You're reminding somebody of them. And that's usually, that's interesting because that's usually before the event. The other ones is after the event. Okay. And this one is the same as don't forget to lock the door. Same meaning as don't forget to. So this one and this one are the same meaning. So that's a common thing with certain verbs. They have both a to infinitive and a verb ing possibility after them. And sorry, somebody's talking there. So they have both a verb ing and a to infinitive version after them, and they have different meanings. Some verbs have a to infinitive and verb ing option with no change in meaning. So he started smoking, he started to smoke. It's the same thing, really. Okay. What's the difference between I like to cook at the weekends and I like cooking at the weekends? How about that? Does anyone know the difference between I like to cook and I like cooking? Any suggestions?
Well, I think I like cooking is that I enjoy.
Lovely. Well done. Good. And I like to cook.
I think that like it might mean that I find it useful or convenient.
Yes, convenient is the key word. Convenient is the key word. One is pleasure, the other is convenience. Pleasure, convenience. I have to say, though, even native speakers don't always obey that rule now. They often just, and I'd include myself in that, you know, once we take off our teaching hat, we're guilty of all the same mistakes that not all of them, but many of the same mistakes that the general public make. We have, just like doctors tell everybody else to be healthy and then have some bad habits themselves. So they're human, you know. But that's a common thing about native speakers. And I often wonder if in 15, 20 years, the dictionary will just scrap the rule and say, look, that used to be how it was, but it's not anymore, you know. So, but that's the difference you'll get with some of those two. And there's a lot of devil in the detail that you should keep your eye on, you know, you should keep your eye on. There's some very good books that are good like that. If you ever go to Michael Swan, if you're that kind of person, if you're the person who likes, you know, to know the difference between on campus and in the university, why was one on and why is the other in? Michael Swan is very good at explaining those. I think it's called a practical English usage. If you Google Michael Swan practical English something, something, something. Every TEFL teacher gets a copy of it and said, look, if the students ask you something, pop out to the toilet and read this. Okay. So that's what everyone uses. But students like yourselves who mightn't have access to someone as wonderful as myself, you might use that as a resource. And guess what? I think you can actually get it downloaded on PDF somewhere on one of those sites somewhere if you don't want to spend money on it, but I shouldn't be encouraging you to do that. So yeah, Michael Swan, practical English usage. I think it's usage. Could be English and practical use, I'm not sure, but if you just Google that, Michael Swan and practical English, it'll get you the name of the book. But it's a good one as well. It's kind of like, not exactly the Bible, but it's like one of the books of the Bible for a lot of English language teachers, we'll say. So it's good at, giving advice on things. All right, now, so let's go back there to our table. So group study can often help students achieve, okay, finish counting, the police support. Now, what do we have here? The minister doesn't really help the police support the teachers' unions by being more vocal. Okay, support, we'll say communities, because teachers' unions, we were using a different example there, and I have to tidy up these sentences. So the minister doesn't really help the police support communities by being so vocal, I'll say. Maybe this minister is going blah, 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 and speaking too much, and this is preventing the police from supporting communities. Whoa. Okay. The government really needs to help commuters reduce CO2 emissions. And we've already done this by providing. Okay, so we saw that already by providing. I'm not changing that color. It takes too long in the tables. So many of the verbs will have another verb after them. And some of you, as I said before, and I say many times, have your IELTS exam already in your rear view mirror, in your history, and won't need to revisit it. But some of you will, okay? Now, those of you who might have band 5.5 to get into, first year in IT Sligo, that's all very well. But by the time you get to master's or PhD level, it may be a requirement at some stage, not necessarily because you're English, but because of an application to go and do IELTS. So don't think necessarily that your English exam taking days are behind you. Nowadays, there are a significant number of Irish people, native speakers, taking the IELTS exam. Why? Because they needed to get into Canada and Australia. Why? Well, because the application forms to those for visas, permanent residency to those countries, give points for IELTS. Believe it or not, IELTS give points for that. And I know in the application to Australia, there were 10 points for band 7 and 20 extra points for band 8. So if you could score band 8 and you were the wrong age profile, maybe not the great nationality profile, all of these profiles score points on the application. So it doesn't mean say, well, we don't want anybody from Outer Mongolia. They're out of the picture. We don't want those guys. They don't do that. They say Outer Mongolia gets 3 points, but somebody from Hungary might get 20 points. Okay. And for some reason, the Australian government do that all the time. They change the parameters, like a DJ and all those sliding buttons. They change the parameters as per what they need. So they might need nurses from India, and they'll ramp it up and they'll give a lot of points to any profile. But then once they get enough nurses from India, they turn it all down and say, enough nurses from India now. We need farming experts from Poland, because there are film experts from Poland. That's what Poland is very famous for at a very high level. They have a movie studio in a city called Łódź. There's a a city called Łódź in Poland, and they have an amazing reputation for producing especially technical people. So if you ever watch a lot of the Hollywood movies, once the technical, you know, the credits at the end and the director, the main actor, very, very often like the lighting guys or the sound guys or the lens, you know, the camera operators, very often you'll see a Polish surname in there, and they come from the Łódź school of filmmaking. And there's a joke, they call it Hollywood. Hollywood. Okay. So anyway, that's how you'd build these sentences. So in this case, a lot of these verbs like begin, reducing, avoid, developing, finish, counting, they'll use a verb ing here like this. All right. And your ability to produce these properly will help in things like the IELTS exam, where you know you're going to be under pressure to deliver points. And also, by the time you get to, you know, thesis stage, you don't want to be handing up gobbledygook. You know, for your own sense of pride, you'd like yours to be as good as, in terms of language usage, as good as any Irish or American or native speaker student. Okay, any questions about these two slides so far? Anyone there? So any questions on those two slides so far?
Okay, thank you.
Okay, all right. Now, the next thing I wanted to do was bang together a quick table on one more issue. Okay, so that's, we've talked about using help. You know what, I'll put this in here. I'll do this, then do this. Let's see if this gives us what we want. I want to throw together a quick table on using high value verbs. Now, certain high value verbs will do this. Okay, they'll go over here. All right. And here you might have, here you'll have your HVV, okay, your high value verb. And here you'll have your subject, okay. Let's say maybe, okay. I'll get rid of these. All right, now I'm going to start with prevent, stop, discourage, discourage, okay. And then this guy will use, okay, so I'll say subject to, okay. And then I'll say subject to, and then I'll say preposition. I'm going to have to say prep here because preposition is too bloody long. Remember once when I was teaching in Poland, I had a Matura class there, the final class, and there was a girl called Anna, and she was very, very relaxed about timekeeping. You know, now I'm not the best timekeeper in the world, so I tend not to be the worst person about criticizing others, but she would always be late, you know. And I said to her one day, I said, Anna, why is it, and she was a smoker, you know, and I said, Anna, why is it that smokers are always late? And rather than apologizing profusely, she just said very blithely, because cigarettes are too long. So I got an answer for myself, you know. So I thought, okay, cool answer. You get a pass. Now let me just change that. Okay, now what you're probably wondering, what the hell is he doing here? What's he messing about with? Okay, so prevent, stop, and discourage. These are the first three, and you'll prevent somebody. So from, I'm going to change this now because otherwise I'll be writing complete gobbledygook. So for example, cyberbullying. So oh, come on, correct it for me. Yes, please. That's great. Cyberbullying can often help prevent, no, it can't be bad. Let me say good dental hygiene. Okay. So good dental hygiene can often help prevent children. Now, what's the preposition that works with prevent?
From.
There we go. So good dental hygiene can often help prevent children from. Now, what verb that's here in this row, in this column, do we use about illnesses that start in your body? They don't come from outside your body. They start within you. Very good.
Developing.
Lovely. That's perfect. So good dental hygiene can often help prevent children from developing, and we'll say issues such as gingivitis or of course I pick a word I can't spell. Gingivitis, is it? Okay, gingivitis. All right. Gingivitis. What does itis tell you, by the way? If you're ever, some of the scientific students would know this. Itis.
Inflammation.
Yes, correct, exactly. Who was that? Was that you, Andrea?
Yeah, it was me.
Okay, yeah. So inflammation, that's right. When I remember going to Poland when I was living there, and, you know, either myself or my friends would invariably get some sort of medical issue, and we'd hear zapalenia this, zapalenia that, which means inflammation of. And it was only then that I realized the ending itis refers to an inflammation. I know this might seem so obvious to you, but I was probably the age a lot of you are now before I realized that. But I had to learn it from another language like Polish, because zapalenia muscu is meningitis, and zapalenia, what's your migdawe or migdałów would be tonsillitis. So once you hear all these zapalenias, you'd go, okay, that's itis. So itis is inflammation. So I never knew that. But gingivitis, inflammation of what? What does gingivitis mean, or gingivitis? Any idea?
Inflammation of gums.
Yes, very good, Andrea. Yes, it's inflammation of the gums. So you might get that from various problems, okay, if you have dental issues. But maybe good dental hygiene can often help prevent children from developing issues such as gingivitis. Okay. All right, now the next one. Let me see. Good. No, let's not keep using good. Positive messaging. Frequently now is any noun that ends with ing. Is it an it or a they? Any noun that ends with a G, ing. Is that an it or a they? Who can tell me?
I think it's they.
Hi, Martha. It's not actually. Any noun that ends with an ing, like swimming, would you say swimming are good for you or swimming is good for you? Is good for you, yeah. So swimming tends to help develop, or swimming tend to help develop? Well, it would obviously be tends. Okay, so here's a little rule of thumb for you. Rule of thumb is an idiom meaning general guideline. Rule of thumb. It means that any a noun that has a verb that looks like a verb ing, that has a special name in English. That's called a gerund. Okay, so swimming is a sport, right? But it's also an action. I'm swimming right now is the present participle. But swimming is good for you is a gerund. Okay, it's not awfully important. It's just a bit of mechanics, the meta language of grammar. But just so you know, what's the difference between present participle and gerund? Present participle is an action, a verb, and the gerund is a noun. So swimming is a sport. Boxing is a sport. Boxing is a challenging sport. That's a gerund. If you start a sentence with a gerund, that gerund is an it. Okay? That gerund is an it. So children are, but having children
It.
is. Okay? Having children is. So children are wonderful. Having children
Is.
is wonderful. Okay? Vegetables are good for you. Growing vegetables
Is good for you.
I just imagine you're all here at home. Martha's the only one going, am I here on my own here? Okay. So somebody
No,
else
I
is,
just arrived.
I know, but maybe that's why I haven't bored you to death. All the others are absolutely like this going. Some of the students who suffer from insomnia say, I love John Joe's lessons. I always feel I get such a good sleep during John Joe's lessons. All right. So growing vegetables is good for you. So if you start a sentence with a gerund, then that gerund is an it, and therefore it uses an s ending, like, you know, it grows, it's, is, etc. Let me
It's
see
very
it.
confusing.
Yeah, let me show you. Let me show you a very easy to understand. I wonder if I have it here now. Ever since I changed computer, gerund subjects. Begob, I have it. That's great, but I don't have it in gerund subjects. Don't actually have it in the thing, but I have it in a PDF, so it should be enough for us, I think. Okay, gerund subjects. Let's open this up and see gerund subjects. So a gerund subject is when you start a sentence with the verb ing. So you can start it with a noun, children, or you could say having children. Okay. Now let me open this up. Just give me about another 10 seconds. My computer's on that Thursday afternoon feeling. It's like, all right. Let's go where we go. All right, come down. Not you. Using gerunds. Okay. All right. So the subject of a sentence can sometimes use a gerund. That's a verb ing used like a noun. Okay. So for example, swimming is a good form of exercise. Dieting has become very common. Overexercising was having a harmful effect on my joints. Swimming, so in this case, the gerund is treated as an it. So you will use swimming is, dieting has, overexercising was. Okay? Do not say swimming are. Now, you already get that bit. Okay? I don't know any of you who would say swimming are a good form of exercise. You'd naturally say swimming is. Why? Swimming is considered an it. Okay? Dieting, if you mention it later, you'll say it, not they, or he, or she. Overexercising is an it. It was having a harmful effect. Okay? You won't say dieting have become. Dieting has become. Why? Dieting is an it. I have, you have, he has, she has, it has. Over-exercising, the same. You won't say over-exercising were, you'll say over-exercising was. So that's how you'd use those. Okay, now, sorry, these are all PDFs that are just, so here you see having children is good for the soul, eating vegetables has a positive effect on digestion, doing too many sit-ups was bad for my back. Okay, and this also treated like an it. So children are good for the soul, but having children is good for the soul. Vegetables have a positive effect. Eating vegetables has. Sit-ups were bad for my back. Doing too many sit-ups was bad for my back. Okay, so you see this here. So I hope that explains it a little bit more clearly. I usually have this on a moving keynote slide, but I can't find the keynote slide for the moment. So this is just the printed version of it, okay? But that's what a gerund subject is. And you often have to use them. The name gerund phrase might sound like, oh, this is something to put me to sleep. But this kind of problem is very common. So children are, having children is. Vegetables have, but eating vegetables has. Too many sit-ups were, but doing too many sit-ups was. Especially in those longer ones, students see the sit-ups and they say were, but that's wrong because you said doing. So this one here, which is an it, controls the verb form. Any questions about that there? Okay, that's good. So you can see here that the subjects are all plural, but they still use a third person verb. So we still treat the gerund phrase like a it and not like a they. Okay, even though the subjects use a plural form. Okay, alrighty, that's good. Now, so positive messaging frequently tends to help stop the public from, now we have to change this one, from complaining too much about what? About the health service. Okay. All right. About the health service. Now we've got could, help, discourage, tends to help stop. So positive messaging frequently tends to help stop the public from complaining too much. Now, you'll notice that these verbs are like spoons of sugar, okay? You put a spoon of sugar in your tea and you say that's 1. I'm going to not take too much sugar. But a lot of people will take 2. That's a very common number. 3, now you're getting a little bit sweet tooth there, 3 spoons. 4, that's just weird. Who takes 4 spoons of sugar? Well, maybe a small percentage of people. 1, 2, 3, 4. It's getting a bit crowded here. Okay, this one here, look, 1, 2, 3, 4 verbs in a very close space, plus a gerund start. I'm doing it just to show you it's possible, but it's like 4 spoons of sugar in a cup of tea. So if I make one of you a cup of tea and I say, she looks like a girl who takes sugar, should I give her 1? Oh, don't be so mean. Give her 2. Now, will I put in 3? I'll probably stop at 2. And 4? Oh no, that's just going to be, they're going to go, oh, what did you put in the tea? So it's a bit similar with the verb forms, okay? So I'm doing it here just to show you it's technically possible Do I love that sentence? Not so much. This is an experiment. Treat this like a laboratory, okay? So it's a kind of a, it's not wrong, but it's a bit of a Frankenstein sentence, you know? It's walking around the laboratory, grabbing the staff. Okay. So positive messaging. Now, let me see. Physiotherapy, or physio, as we say in just general conversation. Physiotherapy could sometimes help. No, I'll come to that one in a second. I'll say stricter traffic laws. Okay, so stricter traffic laws. Let's reduce our size there. So good and lovely. Could sometimes help discourage commuters. What preposition works with discourage? Anybody? From. And then driving, maybe texting while driving. Sometimes when you want to use a verb after while, if you just want to use a verb but no object, no subject, then just go and say driving. Sorry, I'll just use this one as the template and I'll copy it over. So while driving. Knew that would happen. So stricter traffic laws could sometimes help discourage commuters from texting while driving. Now, am I happy with my hedging here? Maybe I want to be a little stronger. So I'll say can often help. Okay. Maybe I want to be even stronger. Okay. Will always help. So hedging can be turned up to strong statements if you want. What is that? Okay. So stricter traffic laws will always help discourage commuters from texting while driving. And in that sentence, you'll see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 verbs. But I have to say that sentence is not pushing it. It's perfectly natural, okay? So will always help discourage commuters from texting while driving, okay? Physiotherapy sometimes, now physiotherapy is an it, so sometimes needs to. But I'll change this sentence because I can't see it making sense for me. Physiotherapists. Physiotherapists sometimes need to help. I'm going to use discourage again. Discourage patients from doing or from over, I'll say over exercising. So physiotherapists sometimes need to help discourage patients from over exercising and thereby doing more damage. Okay. Okay. So physiotherapists sometimes need to help discourage patients from overexercising and thereby doing more damage. Or you can see semicolon. I'm going to put the semicolon in here. It looks a bit weird that I'm putting it here. And semicolon often replaces a word. People might think, I want to skip the word and I want, now you can only do that in certain places. That's why you need to be careful as a language student doing it willy-nilly. Willy-nilly means anytime you want, anywhere, any place. You can't do that, okay? So after thereby, we use verb ing. Does anybody not understand the word thereby? Everyone's grand? Okay. 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 If you say you know, that's okay, but I don't know if I believe you. All right. Now, so physiotherapists sometimes need to help discourage patients from overexercising, thereby doing more damage. So a physiotherapist will work on your knee and you think, because I really want to get back playing again, I want to get back playing football. And you go, oh, okay, yeah, absolutely. But the physiotherapist might think, that guy is too eager and I'll be working on his knee and then he'll go outside and he'll go to the gym again and he'll overexercise and then he'll do even more damage, thereby doing more damage. So thereby belongs to the so family, okay? Means and so doing more damage. After thereby, directly to verb ing. After while, directly to verb ing. Okay, so these are high value verbs, okay, that partner with the preposition from and verb ing, okay? They partner with the preposition from and verb ing. Oy. Text. Okay. Okay. So that's where we have those. Physiotherapists sometimes need to help discourage patients from. So you discourage somebody from doing something. You discourage somebody from doing something. You prevent somebody from doing something. You stop somebody from doing something. Does it always have to be used this way? No, you can go straight to a noun, prevent accidents. But if you're saying that you want to prevent somebody from doing the object, you want to prevent issues. Sure, you want to prevent issues. But if you want to prevent somebody from developing issues, that's how you'd use it. Now, when you see it in a table, it's beautifully simplistic. But the big question is, can you as a student produce that under pressure automatically without even thinking about it? If I snuck into your bedroom late at night with a large bread knife and I woke you up and I said, give me a sentence with prevent, would you be able to give me a sentence with prevent? That's the big question. Okay. Now, I'm just checking if you're paying attention. Now, let me see, where were we? So positive messaging, stricter traffic laws. Let's go back to our list of high value verbs. Are there any other verbs that you can see there that partner with the preposition from? We already know discourage, preposition partners with the preposition from. What other verbs partner with the preposition from and the verb ing? The preposition from and the verb ing. Can we find anyone there?
Eradicate.
No, good suggestion. No, it won't work. Now, it's not that it can't. I mean, it doesn't. It's not a partner of the. You might say, well, how about eradicate cancer from society? You know, that's fine. But I mean, eradicate something from verb ing. That's what I'm talking about here. This eradicate plus object plus from plus verb ing. Now there's one left.
Was protect already used?
Bingo. No, protect wasn't already used. So that's exactly what we were looking for. Protect. So we can protect somebody from, okay? So let's go back here and stricter internet laws. Okay. And big court case in Ireland yesterday. Twitter had to pay damages in Ireland this week for a large sum of money. Now, not for Twitter. For them, it was just Twitter paid, I think, €450,000. But to Twitter, that's
Peanuts.
bingo. Well done, Andrea. Somebody's awake. Good. Well done. So stricter internet laws could indeed help. Now, protect. I'll just bring that down here. Help protect users from. Now watch this. Being or okay, having their privacy. Now, what verb do we use when a country comes into another country without invitation?
Permit?
No, without invitation. Without invitation. So England did this. Well, they didn't really. They kind of did it slowly, but I suppose Germany did this to a few countries. Invade. So having their privacy. Invade, invaded, invaded. Okay. And look which form it is. It's another verb. So invasion of privacy is a common topic that they talk about. Now let's zoom out for a sec and let's have a look at these. At what we've built so far. So positive messaging frequently tends to help stop the public from complaining too much about the health service. Sorry, I skipped the first one. To go back to the first one. Good dental hygiene can often help prevent children from developing issues such as gingivitis. Stricter traffic laws will always help discourage commuters from texting while driving and on. Oh, sorry. Now, watch this. And from doing so carelessly. Okay, there's another one now that we can use. All right. So my point is that very often a sentence may require a number of verbs. And I have to tell you, the 87% of all mistakes in English are connected somehow to verb usage. All right. And it's a major problem. You can see here that to understand how to build sentences requires you to understand certain things about the sentence. You can see that if you use, give me a sec, the only annotation I can use is this one when I play it, and then we'll be able to point to things on the screen. The screen will be nice and clear for you, and then I can point to them with this little spotlight. So, bit messy, the table. We'll clean it up in a few minutes. So, here we've used hedging, can often help, prevent. Will it prevent? No. I said it will help prevent. Oh, you mean so it'll always help prevent? No. I said it will often help prevent. So guaranteed, no. I said it can often help prevent. Now your language will be vague. You may be criticized for being too vague sometimes. If you guys are facing rigorous scrutiny in a PhD scenario, then you may be taken to task. That means you may be criticized and stopped from using overly vague language. Sometimes it's good to get away with stuff, but sometimes, especially at higher levels, they expect you to have all of the data under control and that whatever you say is backed up by pure data. Whereas in an essay, you can refer to something a little more general and they mightn't be as rigorous in their scrutiny of what you say. So good dental hygiene can often help prevent children from developing issues such as gingivitis. Now, here, some students would say, why didn't you just say developing gingivitis? Well, I was sort of in essay mode here. And we have a technique in English where we speak in generalities and give specific examples. It's a style, developing issues such as gingivitis. All right. Positive messaging frequently tends to help stop the public from complaining too much about the health service. Stricter traffic laws will always help discourage commuters from texting while driving and from doing so carelessly. So, for example, driving carelessly. And look, we got another and from, okay, and then a verb ing. So you can double it up. Can help discourage commuters from texting while driving. Why driving here? If you use a verb after while, after or before, you must use verb ing. So please wash your hands before handling the equipment. Please wash your hands after touching the fish. Please be careful while operating machinery. Okay. And you see now how many verbs are in here and the possibility of getting them wrong. And not only that, but the associated prepositions that are partners. Sometimes you know a person, but you don't know their husband or wife, boyfriend or girlfriend, and you're not sure about them. Well, you have to make sure to invite both of them to the party. Okay? So there's prevent somebody from verb ing. That's critical that you know that. Stop somebody from doing something. Discourage somebody from doing something. Protect somebody from doing something. Okay? And it gets more complex than this. Watch this. So I'm going to take this one. I'm going to bring it down here. And now I'm going to make it passive. Oh, holy moly. Passive. And if it's passive, I'll have to use the past participle. My past participles I usually put in orange. This used to be so easy in Apple products, and now they've gotten just so useless. Ever since Steve Jobs went, they just find a way to do things badly. It's so annoying for me that I would love to go on a tour of Apple, you know, as a holiday. Find the room where the where all those technicians are, and then slowly murder one of them and warn the others. This is what I'll do to anybody else who changes Keynote and makes it impossible to use. On the other ones, it's so easy to use. Now I have to keep jumping back and forth from. Okay. Protect users from being targeted. By hackers and cyber criminals. Okay. Now, let's have a look at this guy. So your sentences might even require a passive structure. And now there are going to be even more spoons of sugar in here. So how many verbs do we have? Can is the modal. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I have to take this out because this was connected to the old one. But it could have the structure like this when studying. When, yes, shopping online. Okay. So when shopping online. Now, I'm not trying to build, you know, to get the Guinness Book of Records prize for building the longest sentence in the world with the most verbs. I'm trying to show you that certain sentences can be quite normal. Now, you see here where I've put this criminals. I'll take out that full stop in a second, but let's for the moment say that we could stop here, or we could develop the sentence more by saying when shopping online. Okay. If you use a verb after when, while, before, or after, you must choose verb ing. Okay. So stricter internet laws. All right. Or better internet security can frequently help protect users from being targeted. That means somebody else is doing an action to those users. Protect users from having, that means, well, in this case, it's also a passive, having their privacy invaded. So here you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 verbs in the sentence now, and they all have a very specific usage. Now, looking at that table, this is a good moment for me to say to you guys, is there some aspect of that table that you don't understand why the verb is in a certain place?
For me, it's clear.
Okay, good, good. So anybody else there, you get that these verbs, prevent, stop, discourage, and protect, they must work with the preposition from when you're using a second subject and an object. And also that not only do these verbs partner with the preposition from, they also partner with this verb ing. So it's this kind of ménage à trois, all right, between prevent somebody from verb ing. Okay, you stop somebody from verb ing. In your head, do it like this. Prevent somebody from doing something. Stop somebody from doing something. Discourage somebody from doing something. Protect somebody from doing something or from being something. Okay? From being and then a past participle. If I change the verb to insist, what will happen here? If I change the verb so I say tougher privacy laws can frequently help protect users from being targeted. Okay, what preposition will insist partner on? You all know this now. And it's not from. Very good. On. So, in this case, I'm going to delete help because I can't think of a usage. But stricter internet laws, tougher privacy laws, the police may in certain cases insist on seeing ID when processing paperwork. Okay. Now, I dropped the help here. I just didn't think it was going to work. So the police may, in certain cases, insist on seeing ID when processing paperwork. If you say they, then it'll be when they process paperwork. Which is higher value? When plus verb ing. While plus verb ing. Okay. These are much higher value than while they plus infinitive. Okay, what about encourage? What about encourage? Who can tell me the structure for encourage? Say again.
What?
No. Try again.
To?
Correct.
Encourage to.
So you encourage to, yeah. But you encourage somebody to, and how about the verb form?
Infinitive.
It's infinitive, yeah. So, threatening expulsion. Doesn't really help encourage students to do better work while preparing for exams.
Would you be so kind to explain what expulsion exactly means, please?
Sure. Expulsion is the verb of expel. Often used in biology as well when something is put out of the body. So expel means to remove something. Now, for example, often pupils from school. It's now, but it's by the organization. So if you were studying biology and you said there was a type of algae that has a piece of it inside it, but then spits it out, okay, pushes it out. You say the algae expels the, now it's not secrete. Secrete means it's a natural fluid that comes out. But expels, it means it has something inside and it goes, oh, and it pushes it out. So it's often puppies. Oh my good God. Pupils. Pupils from school. So for example, and it means for good. It's not suspend. Okay. It's not suspend. It's forever. So if you get expelled, expel, expelled, expelled, expelling. I expel, you expel, he expels, she expels, it expels, we expel, you expel, they expel. The noun of expel is expulsion. Just like propel means to push something forward. The noun of propel is propulsion. So students who deal with drone technology will often use this propulsion. And what do we call the four things that turn on a drone? Propeller. It's the thing you see on the plane or on a drone, the propellers. Okay, because they create the propulsion, the push forward. Okay, so propel is the verb, propeller is the noun, which is the item, the physical thing, and propulsion is the process of being pushed forward. Expulsion is the process of pushing something out. So it's a bit, expulsion is a bit like giving birth when you push the baby out, but it's usually something you don't want. That's why we expel the bad student, we'll say. Okay, so it's an expulsion, but it's often used in science and biology when an organism puts out something that it might not want. Okay, so if there was something growing inside it, you said it expels it. Okay.
Thanks very much. That's
No
great.
worries. Good, good. So threatening expulsion doesn't really help encourage students to do better work while preparing for exams. Okay. All right. Or maybe I should say do better study. Or maybe I'll say to study more effectively. That now when I look at it, that might be a better. Okay. So you encourage somebody to. If we were to go back down here to our list of irregular verbs, could you find any other ones where it's verb somebody to infinitive? And there's one in the second column as well. Now we've done encourage from the second column.
Enable.
Bingo. Well done. Well done. So we've got enable as well. So we'll go up to enable and we'll put in enable here. So the school really needs to help enable students to perform better in exams. Okay. So a number of your HVVs, your high value verbs, have a process whereby the first subject, subject 1, uses a hedging verb package. Or a hedging verb phrase just before the high value verb, along with a second subject and then a preposition and the main verb or the second verb, and then the object and your complement. And you'll notice, and let me just tidy up this table, that just drives me mad when it's like that. Bump, 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 bump. Okay, sorry, just that's not great. Okay, that's better. Okay. So you can see here now some patterns in the verb forms, and you can say can often help prevent children from developing issues such as gingivitis. Frequently tends to help stop the public from complaining too much. That one, yeah, I'm not awfully happy about it. I've put in a lot of verbs there just as an example. Stricter traffic laws will always help discourage commuters from texting while driving and from doing so carelessly. That's a pretty standard sentence, that one there. Physiotherapists sometimes need to help discourage patients from over-exercising, thereby doing more damage to their body. More damage to their body. See, that's an old clip that I had in there. Or to their joints, I'll say. What are your joints? Anyone? Well, the joints are the parts that connect two limbs. This is my lower arm. This is my lower arm here. This is my upper arm. And the joint is where the elbow is. Okay. So as you get older, I can tell you it's the joints. Be kind to your joints when you're younger, because I wasn't. And I'm feeling it today. All right. So can often help prevent children from developing. Can sometimes need to help discourage patients from over-exercising. After thereby, another verb ing, thereby doing more damage to their joints. Stricter internet laws could indeed help protect users from having their privacy invaded. This is a form of passive structure where we use having. You have something done. This is called the causative, but the causative is just a type of the passive where we use have or get. Okay, so from having their privacy invaded means having can suggest that it's either intentional or accidental. Okay, so from having their privacy invaded, that means somebody just invaded your privacy. Tougher privacy laws can frequently help protect users from being targeted. So you could have a passive structure in here involving being plus the past participle of a verb. It will always be being, and then the verb will change as is required. So by being targeted by hackers and cyber criminals. And when shopping online. Okay. Now again, by adding this when shopping online, you are solving one of the problems that I mentioned to you before, this thing of not giving enough information. Now, it might be something small like this, or it might open up into a whole new semi-paragraph, like or another big long sentence. But the idea here is to inform people of more information. Like my editor, when I was a teenager back in the day, and he was telling me, look, your article should give all the details: where, when, why, how, who. He said to me, they don't want to hear your flowery language about ponies and horses and sunshine and grass. The people opening this paper say, oh, there's the Castle Plunket pony races. What time does it start? What day is it on? Which field is it in? What road is that on? That's the information they need from you. And I was very disappointed. I'm not doing this journalism business. All right. I want to talk bullshit all my life. So that prevented me from going to
So
that.
there you are here.
That saved journalism a lot of pain, didn't it? So so that's how you'd build these, and it can lead you to be able to. This is the mechanics of enabling you to perform better in writing. Okay, so that's what it does. It enables you to perform better in writing, but it's the mechanics that's involved in it. These are the keys to the doors that lead to new corridors, okay, that you can get into, you know. All right, now very briefly, if you can give me one more minute, I want to finish off with a thing about introduce. This will take me about 3 minutes, so I'll just using introduce. Okay, so introduce works with a range of nouns. Introduce regulations, policies, new laws, steps, measures, actions, systems. What else there? Move this out of the way. I can't. Okay, let me just turn this off. Fines, penalties, systems, and then you'd build a sentence. Okay. So the government needs to introduce new guidelines to support doctors. Okay. Hospitals should introduce a stricter policy that prevents infection, or hospitals should introduce a stricter policy to. If I'm writing the same sentence, what will the next word be?
Prevent.
Prevent.
Correct. And look at that. That prevents to prevent. Isn't that the devil in the detail there? Okay. That prevents to prevent. So if you're a student who sometimes makes mistakes with the S on the verb, which of these is safer for you?
To prevent.
Exactly.
Prevent.
To prevent. Because that may need an S and may not need an S. Why? Because a stricter policy that prevents. But if I say stricter policies, that wake up there, give me an answer. Stricter policies, they need to introduce stricter policies that
prevent.
Prevent.
that prevent. So when you use that, you have to stay awake and say, Jesus, is it policy or policies? I prevent, you prevent, it prevents. Okay, did I say a policy? So you'll have to be more alert. Whereas when you use to, you don't have to worry about it. So as somebody who is trying to guide students away from mistakes, to is a better option for you. Universities ought to introduce clear regulations that provide clarity regarding plagiarism. The state has to introduce significant penalties that discourage careless driving. Schools must introduce specific guidelines to advise parents on drug use. The UK has introduced new laws that combat terrorism. And you can also see that up here we introduce works with rules, schemes, initiatives, penalties, etc. Of all the words, the nouns that partner with introduce up at the top, which of them are negative?
Penalties.
Penalties, good.
Discourage.
This what? Say that again, Mina.
Screen
See-
went off.
You see these words up here? All of these words. Which
Fine.
ones are negative? So yes, penalties and fines. So if a policeman stops you and he says, I have a fine for you, don't say, oh, I'm fine too. No. Okay, it's bad news for you, all right? So fines are, mandat is a lot of our European cousins call these. What's a fine in Hungarian? I'm curious, Anita.
What's a fine?
Hmm.
Like the amount of money?
No. What's the I was going to say the Vengyar. What's the language from Hungary? Is Magyar. What's it in Magyar? Fine, the word. Mandat?
Büntetés.
Okay. It's interesting. And what is it in French for any of our French listeners still listening there? What is a fine? If you're driving too fast and the police stop you and you have to pay €80. What is that in French? Any French listeners? French guy's gone to sleep there. All right. Let me see. What are the nationalities? Andrea, what is it in your language? Andrea, what nationality are you again?
I'm Slovak.
Slovak. Okay. So, Andrea, what's fine in Slovak?
Pokuta.
Pokuta. Okay. And Mina, what's fine in Hindi?
Sorry, I don't know Hindi.
Oh, sorry. Oh, my God. Sorry, Mina. What language do you speak?
Tamil.
Oh, Tamil. Okay. Sorry. What is it in Tamil? Sheer curiosity. I'm just curious.
We'll say Abaradam.
Abaradam. That's interesting. Abaradam.
Yeah.
That's very interesting. I love certain words. They sound lovely. Abaradam. I'll be cleaning the kitchen this evening going, Abaradam. Sounds I remember when I used to live in Poland, there was a type of coat called budrasówka, and it's type of duffel coat, and I remember loving that word, going budrasówka. If I ever have a daughter, I'll call her budrasówka. But anyway, these are certain words. So abaratum, that's interesting. Okay. So that's the words that you would introduce work well with. By the way, earlier I used an idiom, rule of thumb. Are you familiar with that? A rule of thumb.
Yeah.
Yep.
Does anybody know the etymology of a rule of thumb?
Sorry, what is etymology?
Oh,
Sometimes
sorry,
I forget.
the birth of a word, where the word comes
Okay,
from.
yeah, right. Sorry.
Sorry, I thought it might be the same word. So as a general rule of thumb, so for example, people often use this with the comma and then they start talking. It means a general guideline.
I've only heard it like in American videos, but it's like worldwide. But yeah, I don't know the etymology.
Well, in the days of Robin Hood, around that time in English history, they introduced new laws in the Magna Carta, and it was one of the earliest attempts of feminism, I suppose. It wasn't really feminism because it wasn't women who introduced it directly, but they did put pressure on women's rights in the home, that they wouldn't be beaten so easily. Now remember, these are the dark ages, so women weren't treated very well. And one of the laws was that a man couldn't beat his wife with a stick any thicker than his thumb. Okay, so it might have been common that a man might have beaten his wife to death maybe in those days, because society was primitive. And the rule of thumb was, if your, let's say your brother or father reported you to the local sheriff, and the sheriff came out and your brother or father said, look, my daughter's married to this animal and he's beating her. And the sheriff will said, well, what's he beating her with? And he said, well, he's beating her with a stick. And they say, really? Show me the stick. And then the sheriff would go, nah, you're okay. that size, it's all right. You can beat her with that. So
Oh
that's
my
where
God.
it comes from. Yeah. Yeah. So you wonder, sometimes men like me, we go, oh, feminists, what's their problem? Maybe 700 years of being treated like shit. That's what causes these things. But yeah, that's where that comes from. A rule of thumb comes from this idea. So, words and phrases have interesting beginnings, All
It's
right.
very good to know,
Well,
it's
yeah, you
good to
can.
know the stories behind it.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of things like that you
Mhm.
discover after the years. It's like the old story of the clock face. When you'd see Roman numeral clock face. I know I've told some of you this this story before, but Roman numeral clock faces have a tradition in them. Okay, and not everybody knows the tradition. What's the Roman numeral for 1?
I.
What's the Roman numeral for 2?
Double I,
Okay.
What's the Roman numeral for 3?
triple I,
What's the Roman numeral for 4?
1 and B.
Okay, but not if you're a clock. See that?
Oh,
Oh yeah, I remember this.
yeah.
Okay, so the story was that I forget which king of France, but now my French listeners might correct me on this, but I think either Louis the 14th or Louis the 13th was being taught. Now you see some clocks use it, the IV, they use the mathematically correct one, but the tradition in clockmaking is to use the incorrect version. Okay, and the story was that one of the kings, when he was a child, was being taught his numbers by his private tutor. He wasn't in school with the rest of the kids. And he was being taught the numbers. And at the same time, the tutor was doing it on a clock face. So he was killing 2 birds with 1 stone and helping to prepare the child to read the time, to tell the time, as well as to understand numbers. And the child wrote it down: 1, very good, I, 2, I, 3, 2 double I's. And the lecturer said, sorry, Your Majesty, that's a mistake. And the little boy looked at him and said, the king is never wrong. And the tutor got such a kick out of this, got such amusement out of this, that he told the supervisors of the king and all that, and they said, this is fantastic, he's showing real royal instincts at a very young age. So this all went around Paris, and the clockmakers of Paris decided to, in tribute to the young king, they decided to change all the numbers to the incorrect form just to keep him happy. So politics has never changed, really.
Mhm.
But yes, if you buy any of the watches from, we'd say, the older tradition, from some of the older watchmaking companies, they'll have the 4 eyes, and then the others will have the IV on it. But yeah, there's a history to everything, I suppose. So that's the general guidelines. So I just wanted to introduce that thing on introduce and the schemes, because in your essays and thesis projects and assignments and presentations, you might be asked what is the solution to a problem, and the subject in this case will always be some body of authority, like the government, a hospital, a university, the state, schools, the UK, somebody who can introduce their own laws, regulations, guidelines, etc. Okay, you wouldn't say parents should introduce stricter guidelines. They're not an official body, but governments, hospitals, universities, corporations, those kind of things. The EU, for example, they can introduce these, but don't say mothers or grandparents. That wouldn't make sense. Okay. Now that's us for this semester. That's our final lecture. I hope your exams all went well, and that your thesis work is going well as also. And I hope that you'll have a chance to relax over the Christmas. We'll be back again on the week of the 11th, and I will continue this particular course until the last Thursday in February. Okay, and then it's up to the CUA to renew the course. Okay, so I'll continue it from January 11th up to the last Thursday in February, and I'll be here to assist in any way I can, or to help you with insomnia problems. If you find it difficult to sleep, these lectures can be very helpful in that regard. And I'll be putting up a lot of mini lessons, like common mistakes, over the Christmas period. So instead of watching The Sound of Music on Christmas Day, you can watch some of these fascinating mini classes on that. Okay, so that's everything from me. Does anybody have any questions?
Hi, JJ.
Hey, Mina.
I was trying to download all your videos. In that week 5 Thursday class, I was not able to view also.
You're not able to use week 5. Let me just make a
Yeah, week 5 Thursday.
Week 5 Thursday. And what's the problem with this, Mina?
It is showing some error.
Thursday. I'll tell you what might cause that. Sometimes, sometimes I might show you a video clip. Now, I'll look into this and try and solve it. If I show you a video clip on YouTube and I don't stop record, sometimes the people who produce that have a certain copyright choice on that. And some of them I can just upload, and if millions of people watched it and money came in from it, it would go directly to that person, which is fine. But some of them will automatically block it. Now, that's possible that's what happened to week 5 Thursday. I'll investigate that and I'll see what I can do to rectify that situation. I wasn't aware of that. Thank you for telling me. Can somebody remind me, what week are we on currently?
7.
7. Okay, so that's 2 weeks ago. Yeah, it's possible that I might have showed you a clip from the Graham Norton show. BBC tends to be very strict. Some of the American companies, they say there's copyright on this, but you can use it. You just can't sell it. And I go, yeah, that's perfect. Fine. And then it'll work for you guys. But it may be that there's a copyright claim on one of the clips that was in the video, and they don't want us. They have blocked the video. If that's the case, I'll try and cut it out or something and do that. So week 5 Thursday, video not playing. Okay, lovely. That's good. Right.
And one more thing, can you
Yes.
make your notes as a PDF?
No, I can't. There's a limit, I'm afraid, to what we can do for copyright. Okay, so I'm willing to put up some of the slides, all right, as copyright, but that's all original material. So kind of have to be sort of careful to protect our copyright as much as possible. Just having the copyright claim on it isn't always enough. Sometimes it gets into other hands once it goes off the platform. And plus I've explained this before to an earlier group. One of the reasons for having the content in the platform is for us to measure how much the students use the platform. I appreciate you might have a paper preference yourself, but there's a limit to how much we let the content out beyond the platform. Do you know what I mean? So if I start making them all PDFs, we'd lose an awful lot of our content that way. So sorry.
Yeah, I can understand. Thank you.
No worries. Okay, any other queries there?
May I say something?
Absolutely, Darius, yeah.
Do you remember, maybe it was there were our 3rd classes or 4th classes.
Okay.
And we got some of really good feedback. Some of our girls said, you are a really good teacher. And after that, you asked me about my opinion on your classes. I said, okay. I really hate the grammar. So you said, I destroy your good mode. Last week,
Well, I'm sure I was joking, Dariusz, because I've always found you very.
Yeah, but I know. But I spoke with my daughter last week, and I told her how you can share some of the words and how you can explain us how pronounce correctly the words. So I gave her one example, just like the with the name.
Okay.
Necessarily.
Oh, necessarily. All right. Yes. Yes.
And she said, so it's another good feedback for you. You are smart teacher.
Well, thanks very much, Dariusz. We teachers are like actors, you know. I could be here at 10 o'clock saying, anybody else? Anybody else got something amazing to say? So.
No, I will say one more thing. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
And the same to you, Dariusz. The same to you. And thank you for that. That's very nice to hear. That's good feedback. Okay, so thanks a million for all your kind words and for your participation. I know that you guys have extremely pressurized schedules, and that, you know, it's not always easy to, you know, keep up with your English, but what you're doing is really good for yourselves, and I can see a lot of development in the way you're learning. So well done on that, and I hope your exam period hasn't been too stressful, and I hope that your results will be satisfactory for you, you know. So that's the happiness and healthiness and health. That's the main thing to wish for. Okay, good. So any other questions before we sign off?
No.
Thank you very much, John Joe, a lot.
Right.
And I wish you happy Christmas. And I hope you will spend lovely quality time with your family, and wish you the best.
Thanks, Sabrina. Thanks a million, Lisa. That's lovely. All right, guys. Thanks very much, and happy Christmas to you all. See you back again on the week of January 11th. Whatever, I think it's January 12th is Tuesday. So that week we're back again on Tuesday. All right.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. Take care. Bye bye. Happy Christmas.
Happy New Year. Merry Christmas.
Bye bye. Bye bye.
Bye bye.